Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Pacific Horseplayers right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, of course, joined by my wonderful co-host and friend, Mr. Ryan Anderson, as we cover Santa Anita late pick 5 for this Saturday. No special guests, no extra co-host to join us, just me and the homie Ryan. And we're going to be bringing you a great show here on this Tuesday night at 9:30 Eastern. Ryan, we're actually going to start to try to do the administrative stuff when more people join to try to get it in between races or so. So let's go ahead and check in with you. How was your weekend and how you doing?
There we go. Weekend was good. I'd give it 2 thumbs up, but one of my thumbs is wrapped up pretty good because, my knife skills were a little rusty.
I thought it was because you were drinking too hard.
No. Caught myself a little bit. But other than that, great weekend. The ABR guys at America's Best Racing were nice enough to have me on Saturday, talk some Pegasus, so that was great. And yeah, I don't know if you said at the beginning, but this is Pacific Horseplayers, not just episode 21 of Pacific Horseplayers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's probably
my ears don't entirely work, but I just wanted to make sure we emphasize that one. We don't want people thinking this is betting and boozing, picks and ponies. This is Pacific Horseplayers out here. But had a good weekend, man. Had a good week. Yeah. How are you?
Doing all right. Weekend was a little rough betting wise, but just kind of turn the page and move on to the next weekend. We got some big races. Even though last weekend was a bunch of big races, we actually got some 2 greatest stakes that we're going to be talking about. So looking forward to getting into that. Let's go into the chat. Our good friend Jackson is here. What's up, chat? Matt Miller is here with the typical yo. Katie, of course, is here ready for the show, and she's not late. She wants to make sure that we know that. Jim Pilar is a good friend of the pod. Hello. Looking forward to another great show. Thanks so much, Jim, for joining. Ryan is here. That's a shocker. We've got Racing Down to Win. Racing Down to Win's here. Dave Duncan. He says it's podcast time. Terry Frank is here. Hi, all. And then we've got the boss. Congrats, Terry, of course, on your Derby gift. So we've got those people in the chat. But before we get into the races, we're actually going to do a little recap, Ryan, of what we saw this weekend. If you see me looking down, I've got some notes about what happened this weekend. So just
professional.
If you see something. Big Cap recap. I guess the most notable things that should be mentioned, of course, Locked with a very impressive win in the Santa Anita Handicap. 4 wins for a good friend of the pod, Michael McCarthy, including a win in the last race that we won't really talk about too much. Got the day started off with the Guria in the Buena Vista, who actually paid $11.40. I was a little surprised by that with the scratch of Alpha Bella, who we'll actually be talking about here in a minute. And then in the San Felipe, Journalism, very impressive, 108 buyer, 47.5 points. You have to add that in there because there was the scratch and ended up being a field of 5. Barnes, a good second with a 105. I say good. 105 is excellent. 18.75 points for him, which actually puts him, I believe, in 21st. So he's just out of it right now. And then in the DRF article I read, Baffert said that he actually lost a shoe at the start. So take that for what you will. Santa Anita Derby looks like the next spot for Journalism. And then I couldn't find anything about Barnes. So we'll have to find out here soon. The next race was another McCarthy entrant, Formidable Man, very impressive. And Mi Hermano Ramon, who was the big favorite after El Patente scratched, was awful. And I actually liked him, so I was very disappointed in that. And then Locked, of course, in the big cap. 8.5 lengths is the largest margin of victory in the history of the race. Got to hand it to you, Ryan. Express Train, a very good second. I was very.
The old man still had it.
The old
man still had it.
And then Hit Show followed up the trifecta in third. And I wrote in my notes, Cox should be embarrassed by that third because he was pretty awful. But that was done in the weekend so far. Anything you want to touch on about what happened, Ryan? Of course, I'll let you talk about Express Train. I thought that overall it was a pretty good call on your part. But what'd you think about the weekend?
I mean, yeah, I guess I'll start with the big cap because that's what you were just alluding to. Yeah, Express Train, I said last week he was the only one that kind of wants the distance, but he might lose to Locked just because, I mean, Locked is Locked. He's another gun runner that's just getting better with age, and he just dominated. So, you know, old man ran great. He's like 8 or 9 years old, Express Train. It's still finished nicely. The rest of that field was bad. They all need to be at 1 1/8 miles at the absolute longest for the rest of their time. Obviously, a little bummed we didn't get to hear Frank Miramati call Miramati's name as they were coming home down the stretch. That would have been, a cool little racing moment.
Yeah.
And then real quick for the San Felipe, Barnes running a 105 in defeat, and everybody almost not immediately dismissing him, but pretty much just like shrugging him off because journalism kind of wowed everybody with that performance. It's always funny seeing the recency bias, whether it's in racing or in football or in any other sport or just in everyday life. So I'm curious to see where Barnes turns up next. I'd have to imagine the Santa Anita Derby, a second or third there gets you in the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they need to test him too much, but Barnes, he got defeated and he definitely looked a little weird, but maybe losing the shoe was part of that issue.
Could have been, yeah. You would think he would run one more time to get the points, either a second or third somewhere. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is the Santa Anita Derby a 100-point race?
It should be, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's
if it has a full field.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I was looking through the Derby list earlier on DRF. They've got that all updated, and you see the horses that have like the 0.5s and the 0.75s. It's just kind of weird. You don't see that every year, but now with the new rule, it's interesting.
It is,
and it's good.
I mentioned this on ABR over the weekend, but I wonder when with this new kind of point system where you're getting fractional points, when that's going to, come into effect and a horse isn't going to make the Derby by like 0.25 points or something like that, because it's bound to happen when it's like this. So I'm always interested to see, when that kind of tiebreaker, when that point differential is going to come into effect.
Yeah, might even be this year, but it'll be interesting to see. We'll go ahead and get into the handicapping. Of course, like I said early on in the show, we're going to be covering the late pick 5 this Saturday at Santa Anita. Starts off with race 7, which is 3:08 local time. Starting off with everybody's favorite race, $32,000 maiden claimer. They're going 5 1/2 furlongs. Ryan is stoked to cover this race. We've got a pretty big field of 10, and the morning line favorite. We actually got morning lines, Ryan, which is
shout out to Jess Eagle for getting that done. Way to go.
Yeah, quite surprising, even though some of them we might not agree with, and I'll definitely touch on that. I'll let you give your fair share of poo-poo. But morning line favorite in this race is the 4 Lead Pipe Joe for Edwin Maldonado and Luis Mendez at 9-5. Second choice at 2-1 Code Breaker, the Calbred for Armando Aguilar and Dean Pedersen. Go ahead and get our picks up on the screen to start the pick 5. I'm going 4-9-6, and Ryan, you're going 8-4-9. Ryan, you're going with an interesting horse, a first-time starter for the Parabon Barn. 15-1 on the morning line. You got to like that.
I do. I love this horse. Breaking Desire for Parabon. William Antigiorgi's in the saddle. This one gets Lasix for the debut. Parabon's hitting at a nice 29% with a $4 ROI for debut starters. In maiden claiming, that number's still strong. He's 43%, albeit only from 7 starters, but still a healthy ROI. The dam is kind of win and win early. 7 different foals, 2-1 on first asking, 1 in second, 1 in third. Of those foals, 6 are winners. 1 was not, finished second a couple times, retired a maiden. So I like it. It's win early, is in the pedigree, and you're going to get a pretty decent price. Code Breaker, the number 9, which I'm sure we'll get to here in a bit. I just thought had some vulnerabilities. Same with the number 4. So I like taking a fresh face and a horse for a strong barn, strong connections that like to win first time out.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to start the pick 5. Obviously, when a horse is in for 32, you got to have some questions, but it's smaller connections and the breeding is really not there. But you brought up some great points about early precocity with the foals. Lasix, obviously, first time with the first time starters. I took a look at this one. I watched. I think I watched one of his works. It might have been on March 1st, and I actually thought it was okay, especially for this level. So if William Anton Georgie is able to get this one to break, there's certainly no world beaters in here. Obviously, is again maiden 32. So
I will say my bad. My one hang up on him is Breaking Lucky. The sire is only 1 for like 32 with first time starters. So I'm really leaning heavy on the damn side precocity to kind of take him through here. But
yeah, no, I like it.
I thought 15-1 was fair.
Let's go to the morning line favorite, the 4 Lead Pipe Joe. I've got this horse on top, 9-5 on the line. If I get anywhere close to 9-5, I might do something unreasonable. But the way I looked at it, Ryan, I thought the 4 and the 9 were the clear cut 2, but I don't know how you felt. I thought the 4 was much more likely than the 9. The 9-5 and the 2-1 I thought was a little surprising.
Yeah, I agree. Although with the number 9 code breaker, just seemed a little immature on debut, but it surprised me that they were this close as well. Lead Pipe Joe, kind of clear speed. Luis Mendez, Edwin Maldonado are teaming up. They do great for those horses in their first few career starts. This one's had speed versus better, which is always a nice line to follow. You can see it in the debut for Lead Pipe Joe. Lost to San Saba, the horse that's very highly regarded in the Baffert barn. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. 9-5 on this horse would be an absolute gift. If you were to get that. And, in the pick 5, I'm going to be using the 4. I'm going to probably use the 9. I'm definitely going to use the 8. Could probably lock up with those 3 because it looks pretty logical.
I mean, the fields that he's faced in his 2 starts versus the field that he's going to face today, I just think are night and day. Last time he lost to Tissecure and Voldemort, who were 2 Baffert first-time starters, who both ran very promising. He actually got the lead in that race, got the lead in the debut as well, and then just kind of faded to 7th, but he really wasn't that far off of 4th or 5th. So I think on paper it looks a little different, but if you go through this field, the 57 and the 62 on buyers is head and shoulders above a lot of these horses. I mean, the 9's the second closest with a 48 who could definitely improve, but just off of those 2 efforts alone, it looks like he's the speed of the speed. The 9 could be the one that can maybe pass in the lane. So I've got him in second. I just think it's one of those 2. And you've got the 9 in third, so obviously you're kind of thinking similarly.
Yeah, 9 looked like you could pick up some runners. Obviously, Dean Pedersen, ignore those runners at your own risk, as he is 44% for the meet. 8 for 18 is just ridiculous. Those are ridiculous. Those are Mark Glatt, Del Mar summer numbers.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah, Codebreaker, that was a nice debut. I mentioned a little earlier. He looked a little rookie-ish, a little green, I guess, on debut. Just a little fractious. Wasn't really settled down, but an improvement upon that. He can definitely step up and contend. And if the 4 really is just kind of a speed and fade type, I think that does well. But that cut back to 5.5 is going to benefit Lead Pipe Joe without a doubt.
I definitely think it should. Codebreakers lost to 2 winners. The horse that ran second came back and won. That was actually another Mendez runner who actually won this race, the race that the race that the 6 was in, who I've gotten third. I think it's mostly 4-9. I've got the 6 in there in case the 4 doesn't break. Something happens with the 4, but the 6 is quick as well. Gets Lasix for the first time. I thought his effort last time really wasn't all that bad. I think he's got some natural speed, and he's also positioned outside of the 4. So I think that is going to help him. But like I said, I think it's mostly 4-9, maybe a little bit of your 8. One thing I did want to add in there, I do have a couple of stats to share throughout the show. On the number 4, Luis Mendez, 32% maiden special weight to maiden claiming over the last 5 years. So I think that's something to think about. And like I said, if I get anything close to 9-5, that will certainly be a big push for me. We'll go ahead and move on to race 8. I'm going 4-9-6. Ryan's going 8-4-9. Let's move on to race 8. Race 8 is quite the jump in class, I'd say. It is the Beholder Mile. Let me go ahead and
grade 1 Beholder Mile. Yeah, we go from maiden 32s all the way up to a grade 1 in
it's a little different
races.
But yeah, race 8 Beholder Mile, grade 1, of course. $300,000 purse going 1 mile on the main track. Got a field of 6. Morning line favorite is the 3 Cavalieri for Juan Hernandez and Bob Baffert. And then just right behind her is the other Baffert entrant, Richie, the Chilean bred for Fresu, and also Baffert. Will get the picks up on the screen. You and I are thinking very similarly in this race, Ryan. I'm going 3-1-4, and you're going 3-6-1. You gave me a little hint about what you might do if you get 9-5 on Cavalieri, and I'm thinking similarly. So would you like that?
Oh man, full push on that horse. If she is 9-5, that is an absolute gift. Came back in dominating fashion in the La Canada Stakes. She had scratched prior to that effort because she had gotten loose in a work. So she had scratched out of that. It took her a little more time to get back, but she came back and she did not miss a beat. She improved on her 3-year-old numbers, which you like to see for these fillies getting older, albeit it wasn't by much, but it was an off Lasix effort. She faced a decent group, faced Alphabella in here. And I think that form's going to hold up as I picked her in second. She just scratched out of last weekend's race. But Cavallari, yeah, anywhere close to 9 to 5. This is the horse for me. Definitely bred to love the 2 turns. Clearly loves the 2 turns. She's done nothing but that, and she's undefeated. Meanwhile, if we could just pivot to Richie, I know you picked this horse in second. I do have this one in third, but I'm mainly 3-6 in here. Richie, to me, the practical jokes, I don't love them around 2 turns. Just thought she was the best horse, or third best horse rather. But Cavallari is probably a stone cold single for me, or definitely.
Yeah, well, the weird thing with Richie is she's kind of been campaigned a little more strange than I maybe would have imagined. You can see over in Chile, she even ran up to a mile and 3/8. So she was, going a good route of ground. And then in her 3 starts at the state, she never went any further than 7 furlongs. Now she stretches out to a mile. Maybe that will suit her a little more. I don't really fault her for the third last time because Copian is basically turned into a freak of nature. And then Hope Road obviously is a very talented horse also in the Baffert barn. But just thought it was weird that it took Baffert so long to stretch her back out to 2 turns. I don't actually love the fact that, not that Fresu is on, but it is a little weird that she's had 4 different jockeys in her 4 races over in the States. So just maybe a couple negatives to poke holes in her, but I'm with you on everything about Cavallari. As you can see, the numbers, I don't think the numbers really reflect the progression that she's kind of shown. She was maybe a little rusty early on in that lock, and it's actually the lock Kenyatta, not the lock Canada.
You're right.
We don't want to get in trouble with our Hispanic viewers, so let's put that out there.
Thank you for that. That's a co-host fail.
But yeah, I think she was just kind of dusting off some rust. I thought it was a good effort, and she held off Alphabella. So I thought that was pretty good. We'll go ahead and go to Alphabella, who we actually touched on a little bit with Caleb Keller last weekend. She was entered in the Buena Vista. Opts to go here. What would you like about her?
Yeah, this is, while I don't think she's the second best horse in the race, she has 7 seconds. So I think Cavallari wins for fun. I think she jogs, and I think Alphabella is just going to get second again. And I think it's going to be, second again to a good horse. I definitely think she's better than Richie. So I guess she is the second best horse in the race. Richie's great around 1 turn. Don't trust her around 2. Alphabella, clearly this is what she loves to do. She scratched out of, wasn't it the turf race last week? Yeah, the Buena Vista. Thank you. That she scratched out of. So they obviously opted for this spot on dirt. They felt, comfortable with that. I'm going to trust John Sadler and what he wants to do. So I'll take Alphabella in second.
Yeah, I just kind of thought that if she wasn't able to go by Cavallari last time, there wasn't really any reason for me to kind of turn the tables in here, which is why I kind of looked in different directions. But she's got the 7 seconds, like she said. That she's got 3 seconds on dirt, so she could certainly follow it up with a 4th. There's one horse that I want to touch on. It's a number 4 Ultimate Authority, and she's 15 to 1 on the line. She's the longest price in the race. I think she's interesting. You go back to her 3-year-old days early last year. She ran back-to-back 90s, so she was right there with it. Tried the San Isabel, didn't quite work, and she was on the sidelines for a long time. Just kind of, I don't really know what happened, but a nice second to Accuracy, who I think ran a huge hole in the wind when we talked to Michael McCarthy about that filly. And then last time she put it all together, she was really wide. She was in the parking lot last time. 82, 88 should be another step forward. And I don't really think she's far off of some of these runners in here. So 15 to 1, I think, is a generous price to play her underneath. And then some other horses that we can talk about are actually the Invaders. Those are the only 2 we have to talk about. The number 2 Hoosier Filly and the number 5 Tarifa. I don't have either of them in the top 3. You don't have either of them in the top 3. So we're thinking similarly. What was your vibe with both of those Invaders?
Howard kind of nailed it with the Hoosier Filly comment. They're lost on kind of what to do with this horse. It has to be. I mean, I can't remember a time outside of like maybe Breeders' Cup when Tom Amos is shipped out here. I'm sure there have been times maybe long ago, but certainly in the last few years, I can't really think of a time. So it feels again kind of like an act of desperation almost. I think she's going to send to the lead, which is going to make for some interesting dynamics. I don't know if she's necessarily quick enough, but I think Rispoli is going to be aggressive out of the gate. And I am curious to see how she runs out here. Maybe she likes this surface a little more than she does those surfaces out east. She's certainly, become a good horse as she's gotten older. Obviously, she was dominant as a 2-year-old, but comes in here. Definitely 2 good numbers. If she moves forward off those 289 buyers, if I'm not mistaken, that's the old Jackson paired up buyer tops angle. So we might be looking at a monster performance, but not going to be on my tickets if she does wrong.
Yeah, no, I think she's got a shot. I think the fact that Cavalieri's right to her outside makes her chances a little more slim.
And Richie to her inside.
Yeah. I think, I guess it begs the question, which of the Bafferts is going to go? I think it's got to be Cavalieri, right?
I think Cavalieri is just naturally the quickest. I think Richie going out of the sprints, she's going to have some natural early foot. Also, seeing Fresu on, riding for Baffert, which is not something he does a whole lot of. In fact, just 7 times last year did they team up, and they did win once. So yeah, not for me. I think she's probably, in that second flight. And I think if Hoosier Philly does send Cavaliers right on her outside, and that makes it could make it really tough on Hoosier Philly. And then I see her at Tarifa now.
This is the only other horse that we could have to talk about.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I don't know. It feels like she shipped out here with Hit Show, I would imagine, because, typically you ship them out in pairs. I don't know what I'm supposed to love about this horse. I think we've seen the best of her. I hope she gives a good account of herself, because she's a really hard trying horse. She's eight times in the money, so maybe she rounds out the trifecta, but not for me.
Yeah, 3-1. I wouldn't touch her. Maybe underneath if she gets completely dismissed on the board, maybe 6 or 7 or something like that. Yeah. I thought maybe you're going to touch on something with Mike Smith hopping on. I was a little surprised by that, but it just seems like she hasn't really kind of carried on what she showed earlier in her career. I mean, she's got 88, 89, 90 within her last 4 races. But I mean, that's pretty even with this group, and some of these other runners have certainly passed that. So I don't know. I mean, she can win, but she's going to take money. I mean, I think she's going to take money, and I don't know. I don't really want to get on board at that price. So we'll have to find out. That's a bigger price. But in the Beholder Mile, I'm going 3-1-4, and Ryan is going 3-6-1. Next race we're going to be talking about is also a graded stakes race. It is the Grade 3 San Simeon, 6.5 down the hill. Always love these races. Purse of $100,000. Field of 8. Morning line favoritism. I was actually a little surprised by it. Goes all the way to the outside in the 8. Mucho del Oro for Juan Hernandez and our good buddy Doug O'Neill. Second choice is the 3. Sorrento Sky for Antonio Fresu and Phil D'Amato. Let's see who we are going with in this race. I'm going 3-5-8, and you're going 7-3-5. You're going with a huge price in the 7 Lovesick Blues. I've always been a fan of this horse. Interested to see how he runs off the layoff for Giovanni Franco and a new trainer in Barocchio. What'd you like about him?
Yeah, trainer switch to Barocchio. Only two runners with the over 180-day layoff, so I'm going to disregard that. But he's really good on these trainer switches, 23% with a nice 562 ROI. Just one of those connections that doesn't get bet a lot. This runner is 4 for 6 in the money going this down the hill distance at Santa Anita. So he's kind of that horse for course specialist. He has an ability to come from off the pace, and I think that's key here because I think there is a ton of pace in this race. You have Mucho del Oro, who's definitely going to send. You have some other runners to the inside of Lovesick Blues. You have Anarchist, who can be forward as he's switching dirt to turf. You have Air Force Red, and he goes to the lead. And then you have the 1 Charge for Gold. So I'd have to imagine that there's going to be a great deal of pace on. I think this runner has the best late turn of foot. He has a couple 90 buyers on turf to get back to. And I think that could certainly fit here, especially if there's a ton of pace. I think Franco and Barocchio can spring a huge upset here. So I would love every bit of 30-1. I think I'll get probably closer to 20, but I would still take that in a heartbeat.
I was going to say 15. I mean, 30. I mean, he certainly got numbers to go back to, and they're really not far off. Another thing I didn't like, and it was actually one of the 2 stats that I had, Barocchio's 0 for 17 off of 180-plus day layoff, which maybe could be a little altered because it is a trainer switch, but didn't love that. But I certainly looked at him as an underneath threat because, like you said, they're there is a decent amount of speed. So definitely looked at him and could definitely strike an upset. This is a horse that I went and you've gotten second, who I thought was going to be the morning line favorite. This is the 3 Sorrento Sky, Fresu D'Amato. A nice win last time at 5 furlongs with a 96 buyer. Seems like if he runs anything close to that, I think he's going to be pretty tough to beat.
Yeah, this horse has the ability to come from off the pace. He's really tactical. He's the very logical choice. I think he goes off as the favorite, to be honest. He came back nicely going 5 furlongs at Santa Anita, which is a distance you really don't see them run too much at Santa Anita. You see that down at Del Mar, but past the faced older horses or 4-year-olds and upward, I guess they have to. Anyway, ignore that comment. But came back really nice. Second off the bench for Phil D'Amato on turf. I mean, I'm not going to ignore this horse. I really do like the 7 on top, but I'm all 3-7 here. I think I think you can kind of get by with that.
Yeah, Sorrento Sky is just really good right now. His win last time at 5 furlongs maybe wasn't the most convincing, but he was off a little bit of a break. I think 6.5 is going to suit him well. Obviously, you can see 3 back. He got the job done in a race very similar to this. And then just with the pace dynamics, it seems like the 1 Charge for Gold and then the 8, who's actually the morning line favorite to the outside. It seems like those 2 will go. And then maybe Anarchist and him will sit in the second flight. And I think if Sorrento Sky is able to get that good trip, I think he's going to be pretty tough. So got him on top. We'll go to the 5, who I thought was actually a little interesting. I'm glad you've got this horse in the mix, Ryan. This is the 5 St. Anthony, 10-1 morning line for Drysdale. And interesting that Rispoli hops on here, especially with this horse on the cutback. What'd you like about this one?
Yeah, I'll get to that one in a second. Good comment in the chat. Air Force Red did race last weekend, so decent chance that he doesn't run back in this spot. But hey, you never know. If he came out of there really well, I mean, he's entered in here for a reason, you'd imagine, right? So maybe he just wasn't his day, didn't really fire. Maybe it didn't take too much out of him. We've seen horses come back in those 1 to 7 days, so could definitely be a possibility. But to go to the number 5, St. Anthony, yeah, Rispoli hopping on here for Neil Drysdale has to be a plus. You get one of the best turf riders out here. Gets to go down the hill for, I believe, just the second time in his career. Last race at Turf Paradise, I mean, they're running on Durf over there. It looks like a worse version of the Gulfstream Park turf. So I'll go ahead and toss that effort, as this is clearly a turf horse. He doesn't really like the dirt. So you get back to that Seabiscuit race where he ran a 90 buyer. Obviously, he lost to Meagher, Ramon, and horses that are just flat out not in the same league as St. Anthony. But I do love when these milers, mile and a 16th horses cut back to the 6.5. Not to mention, definitely gets a ton of pace in this race, as we mentioned, or at least should be some projected pace in this race. I don't love that he's 0 for 4 at Santa Anita, so I couldn't really pick him in the top 2. That kind of altered my confidence, if you will, in him, but I definitely think he's going to hit the board. So I think that is going to kind of change things up a little bit, and he should be a decent price.
I'm not too worried about the 0 for 4 at Santa Anita with no top 3 finishes, just because those were way back when he was 3. So, it looks like he's a different horse now. He's definitely going to be coming from way out of it. Hopefully there's enough pace to set it up for him. But I thought he was interesting, especially at 10-1. Matt Miller actually brings up a good point. 6 wins in 23 starts, and then he's only got 1 other finish in the money. So maybe a little bit of an all or nothing type. I'm hoping that's not the case, because I'd certainly like to play him underneath. The last horse that we will touch on, I guess we should probably touch on the morning line favorite. This is Mucho del Oro. You don't have him in the top 3. I've got him in 3rd, but I was a little reluctant. I don't love that, went over to Gulfstream and then came all the way back here. His works are a bit spotty. I know he's got a bullet 46-4, but that race was January 25th. He didn't have a work since February 16th. And then not another one for 2 weeks until March 2nd. So just a little spotty, especially for me to take him at 9-5. Is there something that kind of threw you off of him?
I mean, he concerns me. He's the fastest horse in the race if you go off speed figures. He's run multiple bigs that are higher than any of the others have run here. He's kind of a not all or nothing horse, but he needs a lead, and he needs it to be clear. Yeah. That's really his only way of going, and I don't think he gets that. So that was kind of the ultimate reason I didn't pick him anywhere in my top 3. But yeah, I think again, if he fires his A race, they're all going to be running for second. But Juan's got to clear, stay in front, and then extend that. So he's got to do a lot in a race with a lot of pace. And then you mentioned the work pattern is, spotty to say the least. I would say. So it feels like one of those spots where going the 6.5 is kind of easier for these horses. Like you're with gravity for 4 furlongs of the race going downhill. So it's a little easier. So he ships back from Gulfstream Park. There are too many negatives for me to want to take him here. So I left him out of the top 3. He's a horse that I'll let beat me.
I agree with all of it. The interesting thing is O'Neill's actually also got the 6 Anarchist, who's not really a turf horse. But I don't think he's going to necessarily send with Anarchist. I think he'll probably be in the second flight. But I still think he's going to take pressure from this horse, the one Charge for Gold. So I think he's going to really have to be on his A game to battle with the 1 and then hold off others in the lane. So we'll see. I don't know if I necessarily want to find out at that price, but it'll be interesting to find out what happens. We'll go ahead and
Anarchist is a interesting horse in this race. Like that's the huh?
They say he's polarizing.
Yeah, and he's just such the classic Doug O'Neill horse of, brought him back from Korea, first of all, after running in the Bing Crosby over the summer, goes to Korea, comes back in a 6 furlong sprint, kind of disappoints, and then they're just like, okay, let's go down the hill on turf. So why not? I mean, he has a 97 on turf, though, so that going down the hill at Santa Anita, so that's interesting if he can get back to those days. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how he factors in this race. We'll go ahead and move on. I'm going 3-5-8, and Ryan is going 7-3-5. We are done with the stakes races, but we still have 2 solid races to finish off the late pick 5. The late double, the $5 late double at Santa Anita starts with this race 10. Allowance optional claiming 50,000, running for a purse of 67,000, going 1 mile on the main track. Another field of 8. With a morning line favoritism, going to Eagles Flight. If you are not familiar with this horse, Eagles Flight, he is the half brother of the great Flightline. Rispoli, Sadler, 9-5. I'll get the picks on the screen. Ryan, you're not messing around. You're going with him. I'm actually going in a different direction. I'm going 4-7-1. You're going 7-5-4. Ryan, not much to say about this horse. He's got 2 starts under the belt. Could certainly win in start number 3. What do you like about this half brother to Flightline?
Yeah, kind of like you, he's kind of little bro to Flightline. So much like your Twitter profile picture. It's big bro, little bro hanging out in there. So no, I love Eagles Flight. I know he scratched out of a race a couple weeks ago in there. So obviously these Flightline offspring, or not Flightline offspring, but the offspring of Feathered. They have a difficult time staying on the racetrack. That being said, when they show up to the racetrack, they mean business. They know what their job is, and they know how to run. The consistency of the work since February 11th has been good, showing me that he came out of that, that scratch relatively well. One would imagine. Pretty much 7 days a week, or every 7 days, he's having to work. Those last 2 works look really, really encouraging. So, I'll take him in here. He lost by 4.5 to Miramati last time, who had everything his own way. And we've seen twice now with Miramati that is the only way he's capable of winning is on an open, easy lead. So I can't blame, Eagles Flight for not catching Miramati, who is still trying to finish the big cap as we speak, as is that 4th place finisher, New King. Both of them did not love the 1.25 mile distance, but I think Eagles Flight's going to love this mile off the bench. He's going to get to stretch his legs as a 4-year-old, and I hope he can stay healthy and kind of just, see where he goes from here. But this is a good starting off point.
Yeah, he certainly can win this race. I am a little skeptical about the fact that he scratched from that race earlier on in February, about a month ago. It doesn't really look like that he's really skipped a beat in the mornings. It looks like he's been fine. But just that worries me a little bit. And then the race that you talked about, the race that he lost to Miramati, other than Eagles Flight other than New King, there really wasn't much in behind him. So I don't know if that second is really as good as it looks on paper. So I'm going to try to beat him. I'm going to try to beat him with this horse. The 4, I believe it's pronounced Tranche. I don't think it's Tranche. I think it's Tranche. I'm going to make sure I get that right. I think his form is a little dirtied up. You go to his races, switching into the Kitchingman barn. He's got a 3rd on opening weekend at Del Mar. He's got a second to a horse For All Mankind, who was very good at the time for Sadler. You can toss the race where he ran 10th. Red Flag and Pilot Commander are graded stakes company. He's got a really nice second to Man It to Wish, who came back and won. You can completely toss the turf races. And then last time, second to New King, I thought was really good. I remember because I liked New King a little bit in the big cap. And then I watched that race and I was like, well, who's this 6 horse who went to the lead, fought everyone off, and then just couldn't quite get the job done? That was this horse, Tranche. So that was his first time going 2 turns on turf. This is his second start off the bench. It's low profile connection, so I think you're going to get every bit of 5-1. He's got a first and a second at Santa Anita. I know I don't love the 1 for 12 and necessarily don't love the horses that are in the condition for so long. It can't quite get out of it. But I think he's gone up against some pretty good horses. So I'm going to give him a shot. Tranche 5-1, the number 4, to hopefully take them wire to wire. You got him third. Agree, disagree with what I've kind of presented so far?
Yeah, I mean, if the post positions were flipped for Eagles Flight and Tranche, I probably would have taken Tranche on top or above Eagles Flight. I think the post position is going to be to Tranche's detriment. I think he's going to break, and obviously he kind of does his best running on the front end as well. I do think Eagles Flight has some early foot, though. I think he's going to be able to kind of just sit off the flank pretty close and should be able to kind of take it over, unless Giovanni Franco is, really, really aggressive out of there and makes sure to get that clear lead. Yeah, a lot of respect to Tranche. Ran great at a little under 10-1 last time, as you mentioned. Did all the dirty work off the layoff and just didn't quite have he probably ran out of stamina, if we're being honest. New King, obviously conditioned by Bob Baffert. He's going to be ready for that effort, and that was clearly a starting off point. And then now you have this horse for Kitchingham, second off the bench, should fire a huge effort off that career buyer top.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with everything. This is a horse that you've gotten second, and this is a horse I frankly didn't really know what to do with because I didn't know if he was going to go to the lead, come from off of it. He's been off for a very long time. This is another Doug O'Neill trained horse, this time with Juan Hernandez. I was on the fence with him. Maybe you can sell me with this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is we just talked about that classic Doug O'Neill type move last race. This is another one. I mean, they've had this horse do everything but route on dirt, or I guess sprint on turf. But I think out of Good Magic, out of a Tisnow mare, this is probably what this horse wants to do. Probably going to really relish the 2 turns. That 82 buyer sprinting on dirt was not bad. Lost to Big City Lights and Hopkins. Big City Lights, obviously one of the most kind of dominant horses in the Calbred circuit out here when Chosen Brawn isn't running. So, yeah, a fuzzy horse, a horse no one really knows what to do with. 9-2 though, he got some respect on the morning line, which I like to see. And if he can run to that kind of 2-back effort on turf, but I think he will take a step up on dirt. I think that definitely makes him a big threat. So I liked him enough to pick him in second.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to do with him because he was in the Palos Verdes last year. He's got some numbers on turf. I was just wondering if he could kind of match that coming back to the dirt and then off with a long layoff. I don't really know if I want to find out at 9-2, but maybe if he drifts, I'll include him underneath, maybe the 4 or the 7. There's some punny people in the chat, starting off with Matt, saying that this horse is completely sketchy. Jim Pilares was the first one that commented about it. He said he's a little concerned about the horse in race 10 that runs from the 2 posts. Seems a little sketchy to him. I would certainly agree. And then the last horse we will touch on is this horse I've gotten third, Ghazali, 12-1 on the line. I do understand the point that, maybe he's not as good as he used to be. He was third in that race behind Tranche, and although he didn't run necessarily or actually even close to as well, he was in tight early. But from the 1 hole, I think he's going to save every inch of ground. Kyle Frey, I think, is certainly a rider upgrade, and he's very capable of maybe not getting his horse in the winner's circle in this race necessarily, but getting this horse in the mix. So I've got this price in the third to maybe spice things up for the exacta or try. But we'll go ahead and move on to the finale. I'm going 4-7-1, and Ryan is going 7-5-4. Last race we will touch on in the final race of the pick 5 is this race right here, race 11, allowance optional claiming 20,000. This is 6 furlongs on the turf. Big field of 12, but a heavy morning line favorite in the 1 all the way to the inside with Lonesome Stew, Antonio Fresu, Mark Glatt, the condition demon, as I like to call him. And let's see if we're going with him or not. Ryan is, I am not. I'm going 7-1-10 Ryan, you're chalking out, of course, with 1, 2, 7. Like I said, this horse just seems to rattle off basically every condition in the book. And this is one that somehow he hasn't rattled off. So what'd you like about him?
This guy said, of course, like my strongest opinion of the day is in a 30-1 shot. But Lonesome Stew, he's condition demon. He has run through just about everything at this level. He clearly handled the switch to turf. A 90 buyer is going to put him in the winner's circle here, and I believe he's going to run better than that. This horse is just going real good right now. He doesn't need the lead, but he does his best running, when he's very forward or, just sits that stalking trip. I think the one hole is kind of the key to this. This horse breaks relatively sharp. I would say the majority of the time. I don't think there's a faster kind of gate horse in here. So I think Freysu's just going to go straight to the lead. And I think that's about it. That's probably all it's going to take. I know it's not super creative. I do like the number 2, Chrome Flash, which I'm sure we'll get to in a second, but I am curious to hear your thoughts on the 7, as I also picked this one in third.
Oh, I'm very glad that you've got this horse in the mix. I'm interested in having, especially at the 15-1. He's got 2 races since a very long layoff and a trainer switch from Kristen Mulhall to Georgie P. The first race off the bench was just a disaster, had a disastrous trip in that one. And then last time was just kind of fighting Dettori all the way around. He was actually 3-1 that day. So heavily backed by the public. I like the fact that Papa Padromo takes the blinkers off. Ryan, we'll kind of touch on it, and maybe we'll go through the field. There is a ton of speed in here, which is why I think the 1 is maybe a little bit vulnerable, but could definitely sit a good pocket trip. But a lot of speed. So I think if Diego Herrera is able to kind of take him back, come with one run, I like his chances, especially at the 15-1. And I love even more that you've got him in third. So you don't need to sell me.
Yeah. I don't disagree that there's a ton of pace. And I think that normally that would, discourage me from picking a horse like Lonesome Stew. However, I think he's speed of speed. So I think he just kind of crosses and clears.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, that's why I have the 2 and the 7, because neither of those are speed horses. So to start with the 7, Havoc, came back in great order off the layoff from Kristen Mulhall. Showed up back at the races the right way. I know that he ran a 6th and a 4th, but only beaten less than 4 lengths between the 2 of them. Those are both very good efforts. Diego Herrera hops aboard. So he's a great gate jockey. So he's going to get this horse out in good order. This horse hasn't broken as sharply, I think, as they would have liked, breaking 5th and 7th in his 2 starts back off the long bench. So hopefully that gets this runner out. As for whatever reason, we're taking a look at Uncle Chili right now, but Havoc for Giddy Up Jr. should be really nice. And you mentioned ton of pace in here. This runner should be coming late if that pace collapses.
No, I love it. It's interesting how we see the race, because I think there's a decent amount of speed. You maybe don't think so. I think the 3 is fast, the 4 is fast, the 6 maybe shows some speed off the bench. And then there's 2 horses to the outside that are quick. The 10 Double Jab's got a 1:14 early time for him. And then the 11 actually had the lead in the Piper's Causeway and Chrome Flash race last time. So it'll be interesting to see if there's some speed that'll bother this horse.
Got to add in the AE as well, because that 13, if he draws in Hot Box, is also very quick.
Well, could just speed things up even more. We'll go to the horse that you've got in second, Chrome Flash, another price, 12-1, finished third in that race last time and was favored. Certainly got some numbers that fit. Just a matter of whether he can kind of get the job done over the 1 or maybe some others.
Yeah, this is one I gotta question the morning line a little bit. I mean, I guess it makes a little bit of sense. But then looking at his last 2 morning lines, he's around 30-1. Then I think he was around 4-1 that last time out. They just don't really know what to do with this horse. But this horse has fired some really good efforts in his last 3 attempts. So Valdivia is aboard. Obviously, that's a concern in itself. So I couldn't pick this horse on top necessarily, but this is the horse I think just kind of sits right behind all of the pace that's signed on in here and could get first run at those late closers. He's just going to have to hold him off, and it's going to be on Valdivia to make the move at the right time, which obviously a bit of a risk, but he does ride for Capestra a lot. So yeah, I mean, I thought Chrome Flash made a decent amount of sense in here, coming from off the pace in a race with a ton of speed. And I would say if Hotbox draws in, I'm probably going to go 2-7, and then maybe a couple others in here, but that would probably be enough because Hotbox is fast at the gate. So that's a horse that could definitely keep up with the number 1. Lonesome Stew, excuse me. So yeah, Chrome Flash though, I think is going to set a great trip behind all the speed and should come running late.
No, I love the pick, and I like the idea because I don't think it's just as simple as, spread everywhere and then kind of single on the end to try to get paid. I think there's definitely some ways you can go to wrap things up in the pick 5. But to finish things off, I'm going 7-1-10, and Ryan is going 1-2-7. Before I forget, and it's a little weird that I'm doing this towards the end of the show, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor for those of you that are watching and listening. Check out our power picks. I believe Howard had 2 winners at Gulfstream last weekend, so had a very good weekend.
Did very nice winners.
Those good for the ROI, of course. 212 plus last 3 years and more running. And then you can go purchase those and check out more about the podcast at our website, HHHRacingPodcast.com. And then one more thing, hit the subscribe button. Very close to 5,000. There's a lot of work, hard dedication that goes into making these shows. I don't know why you're laughing, Ryan.
Work hard, dedication was just a great sentence.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But just click the button. It doesn't matter what I say. Just click the button. So got that out of the way. We'll go ahead and bring up our best bets, and then we'll wrap up the show. Ryan, your best bets. You're going with a straight exacta in the Beholder Mile. You're going Cavalieri over Alpha Bella. And then straight double in the same race, Cavalieri into the 7, which I believe is Eagles Flight, correct?
No, incorrect. The 7 is the horse Lovesick Blues at 30-1 on the morning line.
So, I love it.
I'm playing the exacta 3-6 because Cavalieri, I think, is just an absolute lock this weekend. I think that horse wins for fun, and I think that's pretty much the end of that. So that's a stone cold single on all my tickets. And I think Alpha Bella, we mentioned, she has a bunch of second place finishes. I believe 7, if I remember correctly. So with that, I mean, I'm just going to take – it's a numbers game, right? So she's projected to finish in second more than she is to finish anywhere else. So I'll take her to finish in second. She certainly fits against this field. And then, I'm going to press that opinion again, Cavalieri into Lovesick Blues, which should be a very healthy return. I'm definitely going to get through that first leg because Cavalieri is going to romp, as I said. And then I just got to hope a long shot gets home, but I'll press my opinions and I'll, hopefully I'll be right and I can have a great day.
I like it. I think that down the hill race is wide open, so I don't see any reason why the 7 Lovesick Blues can't get the job done. And I'm with you with the 3 Cavalieri, as you'll see right here. My best bets: race 7 straight double, starting with the 4, the Mendez runner in the maiden race, Matt Miller, line 1, starting with the 4, and then going into the 3 Cavalieri, and then fast forward to race 10. I'm going to try to upset Flightline's half brother, Eagles Flight, and put a win bet on Tranche. I like the 5-1. I think he'll get close to it. So hoping for the slight upset there.
I like your double from race 7. I know I picked another horse on top in there. If that horse isn't taking any money, the first time starter, I might play a cold pick 3, 4-3-7 to try and press that up even a little more.
Well, I think I want to play the double because I think that 4 is going to get bet pretty good, and then Cavalieri should get bet a little bit.
Richie's going to take money, though. Richie is absolutely taking money.
I think that double will be pretty healthy for the morning line odds, but we'll see. We'll go ahead and wrap up the show. Ryan, final thoughts, shows that you got this week, anything going on in your wonderful life that you'd like to share with the people?
Oh, yeah, I guess I'll talk about shows. This week, Thursday, tomorrow, Jackson and I, we got Get Bucked going on. And then I think we're going to do our Derby top 10, just release that list so it's out there. I think we're getting close enough that, we want to just make a little video, give everybody our top 10. Won't be too long. We'll be live around 2:30 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. And then Thursday, we got a bit of a late show. Thursday, we're going 8 p.m. Pacific due to some scheduling difficulties with my co-host.
It's like PhD.
Yeah. Hey, well, exactly, except it's only 7:20 right now, so I still got 40 minutes until showtime out here. I'm Pacific time. I'm out on the West Coast, so late show on Thursday, but should be a pretty good time. We're going to be doing the cross-country pick 5 on Big Hoof Energy, so that should be the Tampa Derby, the Tampa Oaks, maybe the Azeri Stakes from Oaklawn, probably the Gander from Aqueduct. So we're waiting for that sequence to come out, but it should be very competitive, and I'm looking forward to it.
Does Torpedo Anna run back this week?
She does, in the Azeri Stakes at Oaklawn.
All right, looking forward to that. Go check out Ryan's shows and go check out Betting and Boozing tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. That is Wednesday night. Go check them out. And then Thursday night, Picks and Ponies, same time, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. So go check out all of those shows. That's going to wrap things up for us, for my wonderful co-host, Ryan Anderson. This has been your host, Noah Meagher, and episode 21 of Pacific Horseplayers. Got to add that in there. Covering Santa Anita late pick 5. And, of course, to wrap things up, PHP out.